thank all of y'all for being here. Thank all of y'all for being part of this process. It's been one of the most rewarding, exciting projects I've worked on in my 20 years of being here in West Memphis. So it is because of y'all that this has been good. We started off just under a year ago with the first focus group meeting, and Senator Ingram got us kicked off for that meeting, so I thought it would be good luck to bring him back and let him close us out on the final meeting. Senator Ingram, thank you.
Thanks, Paul. It's great to be here. It's great to see so many folks who care so much about this community. This Grow West Memphis 2040, I want to thank a number of people. First, the administration that had the vision to implement this. And they sounded the call and you answered. And the only way a community can grow, it is not by happenstance that communities grow. It's because they plan for growth. We don't know when that growth is going to come, but when we plan for it, then we have the pieces in place that allow continued growth. So there is no community in this state, there is no community in this country that is just sort of a happenstance. You have planned for growth. So I want to say, first, congratulations to the focus group for committing your time and effort to really what you're doing here, if you really think about it, is to make our community a better place, really for our children and our grandchildren. I mean, you're planting trees that are going to bear fruit in many years to come. So it's very unselfish. I say many times that in political campaigns, people donate money, but really the most precious thing that anybody donates is their time, because time is unlimited, or time is limited, and a commitment to your community is a wonderful thing, and I want to say thank you to the focus group. I want to thank Bob Barber and his team for all the work they've done. Bob, would y'all stand up? There's Bob over here. All right, we're going to hear from Bob. We want to thank him and his team for the work they've done. And, all of this is great. You're setting the stage for great things to happen. But the only thing that can keep this from happening is if it's not implemented. And too many times we all know that some of the great plans that we have for things, they are put on a shelf and they're gather dust and they're not implemented. But I think because of this plan that I've seen and talking to with citizens of West Memphis, that there's an excitement, there is a vision that this plan would be implemented. The key about planning is it's the direct link to economic development. In economic development, in these days, you cannot have it without quality of life. And this goes, what we're doing here goes straight to quality of life, not only for our citizens, but for those citizens that are going to move here because of the quality of life of our community. And here I think is one of the real keys about why this plan is so important at this point in time. We've got a young, dynamic mayor that's bringing a new vision to our city. A lot of us have had our eyes on this community for a long time, but yet it takes fresh eyes, fresh vision to see things of a generation that is removed, that what's attractive to the next generation to make our town grow, our community, our county, and our state. So all you have to look around in West Memphis and Crittenden County that's going on. I mean, you got John Collins rebuilding basically every school in the city. He's had great support from his school board. I see Randy Catt here, Philip Sorrell. That's exciting. Education is the core of a community. Look what's going in the impact that Southland is going to have with a $250 million investment that's going to grow, that's going to benefit, have spinoffs, that's going to make a difference in this town. The hotels, I see the Patels here. The new hotels, obviously they believe the growth potential potential is in this community because they've invested their dollars. The work that is going on with our economic development team, they've got some projects that are going to be exciting and make a difference in our community. Quality of life, what's been done with Paul and his team with with the trail along the river, the bicycle trail. Look, who would have thought that building a bicycle trail that connected West Memphis and Memphis, that you would have 250,000 people take advantage of it in the first year? I don't think any of us. I think that is by far exceeds all our highest expectations. And the Big River Trail that is going along the Eco Park that is being worked on. All of these things come together, and when they do, that's when our town is really going to take off. So I salute the vision of this group. I salute the hard work that the focus group has put together, and I've been glad to be a small part in it. So with that, Bob, are you coming up next? Paul? Bob? Come on, Bob.
Senator, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so, am I on? All right, so it's really great to be back with you on a hot July morning here in West Memphis. And you will, I think we all know one another by now. In case there's a new person in the room, I'm Bob Barber, and I am with Orion Planning Design, and I had the real distinct privilege of serving as kind of the team leader for an outstanding team to work on this project. So, as I considered the remarks today, first of all, having to follow the senator, and then secondly, to provide something meaningful, I kind of waffled back and forth as to what I would like to say, because there's a lot I would like to say, but we don't want to waste anyone's time, and what would be most meaningful and most productive in the final meeting of this focus group. And so what I have is just a few introductory remarks, a high-level flyover of the plan that you've produced, and then a follow-up with some key, as the senator's already mentioned, implementing the plan. And probably a ramble or two in between, because I don't have a real structured set of remarks. This is kind of a celebration time for you all and for the city of West Memphis on the work that you've created. Our role has really simply been to facilitate, which is what the work that we'll look at is your work. I mean, we've structured it, we've helped you organize it, we've helped facilitate the conversations, we've tried to ask the right questions for you to answer, but ultimately what you see is what you've done. So you are entirely vested in it. I will drive away in an hour's time, and I hope to come back, and I will come back, but this is your community, it's not mine. And this is your plan and your vision, not Orion Planning Design, Alta, or anybody else. So if you'll bear with me as we do those remarks, I did want to start with just a little, I just inserted this when I got here. I thought about it on the way over. I said, yeah, we're going to play that. We're not playing Jerry Clower. Hold on. That's the wrong one. Okay, here we go. I hope this works.
Our parents would go to work in a white shirt and have to take a second shirt because the smog and the dirty air was so bad.
When I was in high school, Chattanooga's downtown was a great place to take a date because you could be alone. Not that I had any dates, mind you.
In 1969, Walter Cronkite dubbed Chattanooga the dirtiest city in America.
Chattanooga, Tennessee is a really interesting place. There seems to be this drive to actually achieve what you want to go after.
The thing that I feel like what sets it apart is this spirit that is unafraid to do amazing things.
One day we had internet speed like everybody else. The next day, we had the fastest internet in the world.
We weren't a first mover, we were the first mover.
When the gig was announced for Chattanooga, I probably got 50, 60, 70 emails from people saying, jealous, jealous.
Now the compelling question in our city was,
What are people going to do with it? And we didn't know.
Just a little short video to raise our level of inspiration with regard to Grow West Memphis 2040. Chattanooga, being the dirtiest city in America in 1969, now one of the cleanest, one of the most forward-thinking, moving ahead. How did that transformation occur? What you don't see in the video is the role that planning played in making that occur, helping that transformation along. And so that's exactly the way I view what you've done here with Grow West Memphis 2040. Incidentally, just another little sidebar note. In 1909, a group of business people got together in Chicago, Illinois, and they created the Chicago Plan of 1909, which transitioned Chicago into one of the world's premier cities. Now, obviously, West Memphis is not Chicago. But again, the role that planning played, the picking out of key projects, and the reliance on private investment to help move the plan along was critical to it's a landmark plan. And then the inspiration of Chattanooga. So let's look for a few minutes at what you have done. You've had a series of 5 focus group meetings. This is the last one, and you see we started right here on July 31st, 2019. The senator opened us up, and by the way, I got a very kind note afterwards from the senator after that meeting, and I knew right away we were on to something good. Just the tone was immediately set in a very positive way. You have pursued this kind of planning process. We went through an element of discovery wherein we studied the community from a statistical point of view, how it was happening in population, economy, how our land development patterns playing out over time. We went into the direction phase where vision was set by you. The focus group, ultimately we designed the aspects of the future of the city that you see arrayed here, and we'll look at it in a moment. And then we're concluding with how to get this all implemented. And that's absolute truth that was just stated about implementation. In fact, there's a little saying that I use, and I think Thomas Edison said it, I think I'm attributing that right. Vision without implementation is a hallucination. So it's very important that the implementation element be followed up on, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And just to follow our pattern, to show where we are in the scope that we outlined, we had multiple milestones, and we're at milestone 5, and you have a plan that's before the Planning Commission and before City Council soon. You are to be congratulated. You have given of time. We have had more delight in seeing consistent attendance by the focus group and consistent input in large numbers throughout. And then we've got more than 3/4 probably of the focus group here today. And that's a big deal. It's a big deal. If we can get that kind of civic commitment to what's going on, West Memphis is a serious contender in the growth game in the future. Just some images from what we did. Here was the starting note here, and various scenes throughout as we looked at maps and we answered questions. And one of the first things that popped up when you were surveyed was the potential of West Memphis. That was the #1 word when we analyzed your comments about West Memphis and its positive aspects. We engaged in a couple of, some might have thought they were silly, but they're instructive of how people think about their community. So we were getting these headlines and what you'd like to say about New Albany in the future, about West Memphis in the future. Pardon me, I'm headed to New Albany shortly. And we developed from that your vision. Again, more images. Now we have said as we approach this, every community has a life cycle. West Memphis has a life cycle. And that life cycle is up and down. If when we started the process I were to put a dot on the map of the life cycle of West Memphis, I would probably say you were over the mature line and there would be some concern about heading down the slope. However, what you've done and what the city leadership has done is created an intervention point, just like this. And I can almost guarantee you, if the interventions of Grow West Memphis 2040 are implemented, even at the rate of 40%, and we don't want to shoot that low, you're going to see real change in your community over time. And I'll reference you back to the Chicago plan of 1909. It transformed that city, and only about 30% of the plan got implemented. And I'm not suggesting you don't want to shoot for 100% implementation that you have here. What I'm suggesting is that if you diligently pursue what you have, you will see dramatic changes in West Memphis. The advantages that you have will be leveraged into a better community, better quality of life over time. So it is. Passing by that, we do look at implementation in these 4 quadrants, which I'll come back to in a moment. But what I want to do very quickly is fly over the work that you have produced. This is Grow West Memphis 2040, and it is what is before council now. By the way, I think when I announced the lineup of what the remarks would be, I failed to mention lunch. We do have lunch, and we'll get up and go get that in just a moment, right after we take a look at your final product. This is up on the web, Grow West Memphis 2040. After the acknowledgments, everybody, this is your focus group here. The Planning Commission is here, and here's our consulting team. Let me say, is LRK make it over? Did not. This team was fantastic to work with, very responsive, and you had some of the absolute best in planning work, working with you. So it was a pleasure to work with them all. What we do is we start the plan, again, according to our process, with, love this quote right here. Never underestimate the power of a city to regenerate. Never sell it short. No throwaway space in West Memphis. Lots of opportunity. Potential was your word. We start off with section 1. I'm not going to go through these statistics in detail, but they are meaningful because, oh, by the way, we did pull in, there's a Sonny Boy Williamson. This is the West Memphis Blues. I didn't know this song existed until we were in this process, and I found it. Some background information on the planning process itself, your prior planning, the history of West Memphis, from which you came, why you're here, and that sort of thing. Love this old photo of kind of the wonder years of West Memphis, of Worthington Estates being constructed. And then we move into those, how you like that quote? There's a river of life, I want to be on the Arkansas side. We review our environmental context of the city. It's all mapped, the floodplains, the river, how the creeks interact with the land. We review and examine the development patterns in the community. I'm sorry, I said examined the development patterns in the community, and we note a couple of things. There's lots of economic infrastructure in West Memphis. Tremendous job creating the context for economic development in West Memphis. And all that is examined and studied. We look at the vacant lands, the agricultural lands, to know how the city may grow in the future. Alta Planning and Design worked with us, and they examined the mobility system, how it evolved. Someone mentioned West Memphis could be a transportation museum, really, because of all the various modes of transportation that have converged in West Memphis over time. We looked at demographics, this being West Memphis population trends, and various characteristics of the economy, income, education, all of these sorts of things. I don't want to get too bogged down in the detail and the statistics, but I also don't want to ignore the importance of them, because it's only in the basis of reality that you can adequately plan for the future. And that kind of statistical analysis gives us a reality in West Memphis and its growth potential. So the focus group played a huge role, actually played the whole role, in developing and charting the course and developing the vision of Grow West Memphis 2040. Again, we facilitated it, we asked the questions, but you generated the actual vision. We ultimately settled on trying to address two scenarios, one of which will occur in West Memphis, guaranteed one of these two scenarios will occur. You will either hit all your economic targets and grow rapidly, or much more rapidly, or you will not. The question is, what will you do in either case? If you hit those targets, what will the city do to deal with the growth that will be here? If you do not hit the targets, what will the city do to facilitate that growth over time? Those are the two scenarios that were looked at. And you created ways of addressing both of those questions when we developed the vision. We had some very key and important areas of West Memphis that were kind of catalysts, focal points, if you will, that were critical and crucial to the city's success in the future. There was an outreach to the community in general to try to get some more generalized community input into what's going on. And ultimately, you generated a vision for West Memphis at America's crossroads. The convergence of river, rail, and roads has framed West Memphis as a strategic anchor for the Mid-South for over 100 years, fueling a rich history and a unique experience of growth. Through the ebb and flow of economic and social change, through dramatic and wondrous growth, quote, through tornado and flood, West Memphis has repeatedly proven itself strong and resilient in the face of challenge. Now, as we imagine the future West Memphis, we see abundant opportunity for fresh growth, from Big River Crossing to College Park on the west, to New Hospital on the north, and economic infrastructure all around. Clearly recognize a significant challenge and opportunity of needed revitalization of older neighborhoods and businesses. Considering all of this, West Memphis is ready to embrace its strength once again. We see a city with strong potential, ready to employ the best practices and principles to build and to rebuild. We've rediscovered the potential of the community for quality places, strong parks, renewed neighborhoods, vibrant schools. We've envisioned a network of well-designed streets, pedestrian paths, bike-friendly pathways. We've imagined a renewed downtown, an attractive and revitalized shopping areas. We've projected a growing job base with nationally significant economic infrastructure. We've imagined our community in harmony with each other and in a natural environment. Embrace the strength, embrace the vision, grow West Memphis. Now, I read the whole thing because that vision may sound kind of cheesy. It's very important, and that's genuinely what we sensed and received, the input we received from the focus group. We created a set of Grow West Memphis planning principles that implemented the broad ideas that were being discussed among the focus group. And then we set about to design the future according to the manner in which we were directed. And I will review this quickly. We did it on 2 levels. We did it broadly, citywide, and then we drilled down and we focused on some opportunity areas for more detailed design work in the city. Broadly speaking, these are types of places in West Memphis. This is a change from the way you think about planning or have thought about planning probably over the last couple of decades. The place types, we'll see the exhibits in a minute. Developing these in terms of working lands, understanding that working lands in the city are these agricultural areas and working lands on the outskirts. This is the character of those areas. Natural areas and parks, I'm going to go through them quickly. This is the character of those, the mobility types, suburban neighborhoods, infill neighborhoods, your commercial areas, neighborhood centers, all of it's there is the point. Urban mixed use is a new kind of category introducing, and then your special areas. All of that applies to various places of the city in general. And they're all associated with kinds of streets and mobility. And so you have a section here of how the streets and the mobility support the places along the way. Now there are 2 key mobility places. One is Broadway. Broadway, West Memphis' Main Street. We took it in 4 segments, and each segment had a little different cross section. And this beginning to visualize, this is down on the east end, beginning to visualize how the trailhead area, the Big River East, might redevelop. All this is tremendously attractive land for development, and in the mobility system, a key part of that. As you move west, we begin to consider Broadway with a boulevard. You see the spot medians here, trying to make this Broadway less broad in a sense, more pedestrian friendly, more tighter, conducive to business. All that is visualized in the plan and provided for potential project and retrofit. The second key mobility thing is the 10 Mile Bayou trail that has been talked about for a long time. I think there's some traction on it now. We begin to envision the 10 Mile Bayou Trail with Worthington Park. Is that Worthington Park? Worthington Park right dead center is a key trailhead in connection into boosting redevelopment and growth and neighborhood livability around this area. In terms of the opportunity areas, we had the Big River Crossing, which is envisioned redevelopment here in a different form of development, not typical suburban sprawl, but more compact mixed-use development, buildings to the street, living over, more conducive to the kind of form of development that is so much in demand in many places now, this being Broadway there. And I know this is the old racetrack there. I know there's already some activity based on the city's work, fire stations, police stations, and so on going there. So we envision ponchos being located here, and then East Broadway at MLK, and how that can lay out. Each one of these focus areas, by the way, has a list of challenges and what the implementation strategies are. You recognize the old service station, how this can be transformed into. By the way, we have a project in Sheridan, Wyoming, and I thought of this illustration here because there's a little microbrew in an old service station sitting out, but not far from the interstate, and right on the bike trail. Total fit. for what's happened here, and not out of the realm of possibility at all. By the way, I totally love what you've done with your water tank, which is an interesting project. I wondered about it when it started, seriously wondered about that. But it turns out it looks great. It looks great at night, it's great. Downtown West Memphis, we envision the infill, taking what is, backfilling and infilling redevelopment here, and then adding the Broadway, after the Broadway median is inserted there. Again, envisioning downtown. And then College Park District on the west, that's laid out and arrayed with the appropriate connections and how the land would be used. This, after kicking it around, was entitled the Uptown District to include the hospital in the Southland Park area, and laying out the tremendous opportunities that are located here to build new space, fresh space for West Memphis, growth area, and so forth. Finally, see how time is. I want to conclude with a little discussion about implementation. And what we'll do, I think the best way to do that is for us to break and get our lunch. Let me conclude about 5 or 10 minutes of implementation discussion, and then the mayor will have the last word for us. Is that okay, Paul, if we do it that way? All right, so who would take the lead in going to eat? Mallory, here she goes. Okay. Let's go ahead and kind of conclude with the remarks on implementation. Absolutely critical, and we've tried to make the point multiple times. You've got good work, you've got visionary work, you've got work that I can almost guarantee will produce measurable, visible, significant results in West Memphis on one condition. There's a diligent effort to implement the provisions of the plan. And the way we, there's my quote, vision without execution is hallucination. The way we approach implementation in the plan, and don't worry, we're not going to go through all this nitty-gritty details, but I do want you to know that there is a matrix. The plan concludes with a matrix of strategies, kind of what the nature of the strategy is, where the plan addresses it, what the expected outcomes are, what next steps are, how progress would be measured, and who the likely partners are. Let's understand that the city, while the city is the prime motivator and the prime mover, the city cannot do all the work. It just cannot. It's not equipped. The government can't do everything. And so that a plan of this nature is a partnership between business interests, civic groups and civic interests, local government. It's a true working partnership, so we want to try to identify those partners. And ultimately, staff would be responsible for making this stuff go forward. All this is implemented, all this is prioritized, and you'll see the numbers here, and then a time frame assigned. Look at strategy number 1. What's the first thing that needs to happen? The plan must be adopted. That's the first thing. Let's adopt the plan. And then we move from there for all the other strategies. They're organized under your planning principles, planning mixed use, advancing compact building and site design, range of housing, range of mobility choices, establishing and reinforcing West Memphis' sense of place, and on down into the open space it matters, and then the administrative matters. So this is the implementation element of the plan. To conclude my remarks, let me just point you to just a couple more slides. and then we will. These are the broad categories in which a plan is implemented. There are certain policies, and this is the realm of government, to develop policies, establish them, pass them, and enforce them. There are other partners, civic groups, faith groups, state agencies, private foundations, all kinds of people, DOT, all those people got to come to the table. There are particular projects, and I noted the $12 million public infrastructure project at stations and all of that. All of that falls under the heading of projects. Projects need to occur consistent with your vision for the plan, and they are occurring. The city is investing money every day. And the question is, will it be invested and directed in accordance with the vision? But also private investment. All this positions the city for private investment as well. And then ultimately how the process is managed through planning, planning department, Main Street, economic development, and other. That's how plans get implemented. I wanted to, I'm going to skip over those. Oh, no, I'm not going to skip over those. The last thing we asked the planning team before we more or less disbanded was what would each member of our planning team advise the city of West Memphis to do to get the plan implemented. And this was out of LRK, Looney Rigs and Kids. Dream big, make sure you have a way to start small. We've got some big projects on the board here, but they start with a little phone call with somebody moving the ball forward in small ways. That's what he's talking about. Short-term tactical interventions. We've got a grand scheme envisioned out here on Big River East. But it can start with something as small as the Ponchos Festival on the corner, or a food truck out there, or the race trailhead, something to begin to get attention in that area. That's a tactical intervention. The long-term mixed-use strategies will take some time, but we can create some short-term elements. Out the planning, Wade Walker, who was with a team member and from West Memphis, was talking about using tax increment financing or the opportunity zone or the other economic incentives to generate some of the development we're talking about. Retrofitting Broadway, in their opinion, is the top priority for the plan. Got to get Broadway retrofitted with that median. Pursuing RDOT for the other projects and generating ready-to-go projects. Tisha Weiss was our economic consultant. They were very concerned about building a local entrepreneurship. You've got a tremendous economic infrastructure to recruit nationally, but also make sure that locally business and entrepreneurship is developed. Also pointing out the need for strong code enforcement. So here's what I would do if I could do one thing in West Memphis today. I would ensure the removal of every vacant sign that greeted me on my drive into West Memphis. A sign that is vacant says to me, don't do business here. You'll go broke. You won't last. Take them all down. That's a code enforcement matter. When we get into neighborhoods, you can enforce neighborhood cleanup proactively by saying, sending a letter to a certain a group or block. We'll be in the neighborhood on July the 31st, and we'll be looking for junk cars, trash in the yard, whatever. And it's shocking. That friendly, proactive approach, a lot of folks will move that stuff out, and you don't have to do anything. It'll just be gone when you get there. So my point is, strong code enforcement. This is a very important. The beautification issues that you're sponsoring and moving on, absolutely vital to West Memphis' future, cleaning up. So that was it. And then Orion team, that's my group. It's an absolute fundamental requirement in our view that the development code be rewritten. The current development code you have, and I mean your zoning code, will not implement the vision for Big River East. It will not implement the vision for the Uptown District. It's not capable of doing it because it was created in a kind of a suburban code, and this is a different sort of philosophy of planning. Updating that, creating the Grow West Memphis Action Team, that's just a way of saying consistently, periodically checking in on plan progress. And let me say this, no plan is perfect. What we have here is a work of human hands, and all human hands are imperfect. And so you have an imperfect piece of work, as nice as it is, so it'll have to be updated, have to be adjusted. There'll be an idea that we didn't get quite right. Some of them won't prove feasible. That periodically has to be adjusted over time. We thought the organizing neighborhoods was an important element of the plan, and there's no need to reinvent the wheel. We've got communities around us that you can learn from and copy their stuff. I'm thinking of one we're working in right now, Tupelo, has a tremendous neighborhood revitalization program. It's been very, very effective. Copy it, see if it works here, what can be tweaked and adjusted for West Memphis. That was our component. So with that, I want to say, I'll conclude it and leave the rest for the mayor. I think we've got plenty of time. I want to say, as a final, let's take a few questions maybe before the mayor comes, or comments. Congratulations on getting this website deployed. When we started, you had one that we felt like needed some help, and you helped it. This is the way the world is viewing West Memphis. This is the way the world views. This is your front door, and it's got to be right. This plan needs to be served up on the web. These visions need to be promoted. This is what we see. This is what people see before they ever set foot in West Memphis. And you obviously all know that. So, I could rattle on long time. Paul, some low-hanging fruit. Y'all are already, you want to comment on that?
Yeah.
Take a few questions, and then Mayor, you have the last word.
Thank you, Bob. Also, thanks to Custom Catering for the lunch. We'll give them a little round of applause. Thanks to Mallory and Jim Jackson for coordinating that as well. Bob, thank you for all your hard work that you and your team have done on this plan. I think you've done a really excellent job. And again, thank y'all, focus group. Thank you to my staff. Y'all know who you are. If y'all stand up, please. Jim, Marie, Mallory, you're not the staff, but you're the team. Philip, we wouldn't be here without you. Mayor McClendon, he is a visionary. He's a pleasure to work for, and he is a ball of energy. I'll tell you, I go home tired almost every day now from working on things around here. So some of the things we're already working on that we knew we needed to be working on was the code enforcement issue. One of the major steps I believe that we've taken is starting to bring the grass mowing program in-house. And what I mean by that is the code enforcement grass mowing that traditionally we've used contractors to go out and mow the yards that were overgrown. We were limited by the amount of budget money that we had to spend and what contractors were charging for those. By bringing that program in-house, we will cap our cost and we'll be able to mow many more yards, in my opinion, than we are now. It'll make the town look better. When we're not mowing yards, we can mow the interstate corridor, keep our town looking better for visitors that come through. So that, I think, is a big step in the right direction for us. Councilman Robinson, your Keep West Memphis Beautiful program, you've been doing that for several years. That is a tremendous asset to our community. On the infrastructure, Frank and his team's been working on a program to complete the South Loop. That's coming close. That will help expedite the retrofit of Broadway. So that's an important step to implementing the plan. We know we have an affordable housing need in West Memphis. We have recently teamed with West Memphis Housing Authority and submitted a Choice Neighborhoods Planning Grant. So we've got our fingers crossed for that. If we're ultimately successful with that, that could bring a lot of federal dollars into our community to help revitalize the east end of West Memphis and provide affordable housing for people in our community, workforce housing. Quality of life, we talked about the 10 Mile Bayou project. Amanda and Jim in my office have submitted a grant application to the Arkansas Highway Department. If that's successful in being funded, that will help fund the first phase of the 10 Mile Bayou Trail. Philip and Mallory and myself, they've invited me into these, have been recruiting developers to take advantage of the opportunity zone the opportunity zones we have here in West Memphis. And we've looked at the possibility of some more detailed planning to help implement this vision of the plan. So those are some of the things that we're already working on. And with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Bob. Did you want something else?
All I wanted to do was say any comments or questions before I'm assuming the mayor's going to close us out. So, any thoughts or comments about the process, where we are, what you've done, and where it's headed? Questions? Wow. So everybody's happy then. Okay. All right. We're going to take that as a sign that you are, and then ask the mayor to close us out.
Mayor, would you please come take this away?
Good afternoon. You can't be dead with me now. Good afternoon. Having fun. First of all, let me say I want to thank the senator that's here today, city council people, city clerk, city treasurer, all of our great minds, department heads that came out today. The Grow 2040 is a major accomplishment for our city. I am so proud and blessed to be a part of a city that I believe that is winning every day. There's a newfound energy in the city of West Memphis, and it has become contagious. And with the citizens of West Memphis and the business community bonded to a concept that we can achieve more together than apart, we are truly on a winning streak. I got these banners made because sometimes people have to see the vision. People have to buy into the vision that we have right here in our city. That's why our city is moving forward. It's not one individual that is making this happen. It's all of us coming together as one West Memphis, to move West Memphis forward. West Memphis is a city that is no longer trailing in the race, but we lead the pack. With the goal of improving the quality of life in West Memphis has started to bring our city full circle with its potential. The 2040 Growth Plan is just a blueprint of our potential. That was the easy part. The easy part was doing the work that we have done now. The hard part now for our time, it is our time now as a city, a community, and a great business minds to pull together to implement this program. We have to think outside the box. There's going to be some crazy things that I may come up with, because I always come up with crazy ideas, but I think those are some of the best ideas, because even if you don't like the whole concept of the idea, there's some parts of the idea that we may can use. And those are the reasons why we need meetings like this. I truly believe that people without vision will perish. But I believe West Memphis will prosper, because we are not afraid of change. We will embrace this process to make West Memphis better. Now let me show you a few things that we are already doing that will help the 2040 Growth Program. We are improving the efficiencies of our sanitation department. We know cleaning our city is very important before you do anything. I also want to recognize Councilwoman Robinson for the Keep West Memphis Beautiful program that she's doing a magnificent job with. They just had to clean up this past weekend. We implemented our summer youth job program for our young people here in the city. If you can, you see them right here. There's 2 of them that's working for this department right now. We're placing them to work because they're our future. Like I continue to say, 50% of our population they make up, but they are 100% of our future. And if they're our future, and we are not preparing them for the future, what type of future does West Memphis have? We have a great future. We have 100 young people that are working in the city, learning the city, to improve it as we pass the torch. We are vitalizing underway the Broadway corridor with additional municipal buildings. On each end of town, our plan is to build a new fire station on the east end as well as the west end. Place a small sub-police station on the east end, build a new municipal courthouse, as well as a new library and innovation center, all on Broadway, because Broadway is our main street. I'm going to tell you all about another main street that we have here also. Action is being taken to clean and improve our drainage 10-mile bayou that will include a bayou trail where our bikers can ride through our bayous. Our crime here in West Memphis is down. We are reducing crime here. We're being very vocal and visible with the people within our community, with our PAC program, with our park and walking, knocking on our citizens' doors, let them know that when we see our police department, it's not just because something has happened. We want them to know that we are there and we're here to serve. So we're changing the concept of how the people of West Memphis view us in all departments, not just the police department, the fire department, the utility department, the sanitation department. All of our departments will become visible because we know we work and serve the people of this great city. Our parks improvements are being made to support our local neighborhoods and incentivize the sense of community. Our park should be one of the simplest things where when you get off work, you want to go walk in the park. Take your kids to the park, just enjoy yourself. We're working to make these things simple because these are things that doesn't take $1 million to do. These are things that we already have departments in place to make sure that we take care of. So before we even start to move to the bigger things that we want to do, we got to take other things that we can do anyway. The importance of continuing down this path with the implementation plan. Let me say this about economic development. I'm so proud of economic development right here because right now West Memphis has the tool that supports growth. We have, I told you I'm going to talk about another Main Street. Did you know we have a Main Street right here in West Memphis? The only two highways in the United States, I-40 and I-55 meets here. In any direction you can go. Our main United States Main Street, guess where it's located? In West Memphis, Arkansas. Name the only place where Main Street is located. West Memphis, Arkansas. No other city can lay claim to have the Main Street of America in our city. So we got Broadway as our Main Street here in West Memphis, and we have I-40 and 55, which is the Main Street of America. We're supporting growth. We have all the tools. We have the interstates, we have the river, we have the deepest river ports. I remember Senator Ingram saying that many of the grain companies from Memphis is moving on the outside of the river. Logan said that we spent over $10 million in the Tiger Grant to revitalize our rail port. So with water, train, and highway, and believe it or not, we have an awesome municipal airport. So all means of transportation and distribution is right here in West Memphis. But let me show you since January 1st. Southland has announced a $250 million expansion, which we all are excited about because we know that that's going to spur more economic development here in West Memphis. Bayer Chrysler have opened, La Quinta Inn has opened, True by Hilton is soon to be open. We have new restaurants that's getting ready to break ground. Coca-Cola $35 million expansion. And let me say this carefully, Project Eclipse, a $42 million investment here in West Memphis is going to bring over 450 jobs in 18 hours. We provide economic development for the people of our city. I see Mr. Collins here. Every school in West Memphis has been newly renovated or rebuilt except the two that we must get past. We have to pass these millers so we can build a new Wonder Junior High and a new West Junior High in our city. Once that's complete, every school in West Memphis will be either newly rebuilt or renovated. As well as we have ASU Miss Southwest doing a great job. So we have not only economic development, we have a great education system. Because like I said, in order to groom our future, we have to make sure that we're properly educated. Now, we talk about quality of life. A city that you can get a job, a city that you can make sure that you got quality education for your children, Now guess what, when you sit, we got a new $45 million Baptist hospital here in West Memphis that provides great health care for the citizens of West Memphis. So we have everything that is necessary for our city to move forward. Now I think outside the box. I know when I walk in, I know somebody probably here like, what is he coming up with next? But I keep doing it because I look forward to bringing along our grant writer who will make sure that we take advantage of every grant that's possible out there for our city to move. Exploring the TIF tax increment financing, our opportunity zones. You all know that in West Memphis, we have 2 opportunity zones, and we have the largest opportunity zone in the state of Arkansas right now. Did you know that? These are opportunities that we have. We're looking at public and private partnerships. These are the things that's going to make our city move forward. And it also supports this plan right here. Many things that we have here is going to take more housing, more development within our city. And I truly believe that we have the people right here in this room that can make these things happen for West Memphis. We on a winning streak. We move forward, and great things are getting ready to happen for West Memphis. Now, where economic development has tremendous growth, new schools, new hospital, housing. We're looking at creating a land bank, taking some of the empty lots, Paul spoke on making sure we revitalize some of the lots, bringing 10 yards in-house. Those are some things that we're looking at, and with this 1.3, he was a little modest, but I claim it. The $1.3 million neighborhood choice planning grant that we applied for, we're going to get it. I believe we want to get it, because I wouldn't be a good mayor that's up here and think that we're not going to get it. So I believe that we're going to get it. And once we get that, we're going to soon qualify for the $30 million grant that will go and help revitalize the whole east end of town, which will definitely impact our 2040 growth plan. It don't take 20 years if we start working now. Every day we can chip off that plan every day to make these things happen. I'm already talking with RDOT about some of the implementations of the new medium in the middle of Broadway. So these things are already going on right now. So I just want to encourage West Memphis. We can't do it alone. I can't do it alone. The city can't do it alone. The developers can't do it alone. The business owners can't do it alone. But all of us together can do it together. How many of you all agree with that? How many of you all agree with that? So today, I got this, like I said, once again, the balance is made because I want the people of West Memphis to see the vision, write the vision, and keep it playing. Now, we have a new saying that we said, we're on a winning streak. But I learned about this slogan today, and it said, West Memphis is so bright that we are going to need shades for the future. They're making the shades on the back. So I want to thank both y'all, you all, because this is our city. I love West Memphis. Like I'm going to use spring line. You may love West Memphis just as much as me, but not more than me. And everyone here in this room has contributed to some part of this city. We live here, we love the city, and we, not the mayor, not the city department, not one individual, we together are going to work hard to make West Memphis move forward and continue that winning streak, because when the world sees us as a city that's moving forward. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So with that, let's hear his final comment. Should I call the dismissal? Really appreciate the focus group. It's been a pleasure working with you. And we'll stand dismissed.